Hello, I'm going to shoot a sequel video about constructivism objects in the city. Today I'm going to the center. These are the streets of Lenin, Malyshev and Repin. I hope it will be just as interesting. See you later. Well, here I am. Now I'm going for a walk. I'm in the very center of the city on Popova Street. Behind me is the central stadium, now the Yekaterinburg Arena. Stadium restored, reconstructed to Soccer World Cup which held in Russia, including in Yekaterinburg 2018. Forward. The ensemble of the Institute of Physiotherapy is an object of World Cultural Heritage. Architectural monument regional significance. We see before a hospital, residential complex. Years of construction 1927 to 1929. The building was conceived simultaneously as a hospital and a hotel for visiting patients. The complex housed the Institute Physiotherapy, Hospital, Institute Occupational Diseases that involved professional research metallurgical and mining industry. Questions Soviet occupational health person. This complex is architectural monument of the era constructivism. Complex system of interfloor communications, through corridors, an original solution interior space attributes building openings and decoration interiors, in the style of constructivism, determined the inclusion of the ensemble in the World Catalogue of Modern Architecture movement. Now the complex is undergoing large-scale reconstruction in order to put it in order. Physiotherapy Institute. Years creation 1927–1928. The main compositional The complex component is complex in configuration, placed in the sides of the block, the building of the Institute Physiotherapy.
Length and complexity spatial structure buildings, explained in the form of a plot, functional features of its parts, intended for various methods treatment. Asymmetric three-story volumetric composition consisting of L-shaped elements, sequentially connected at an angle to form a broken line facade composition, with pronounced angular emphasis directed to Lenin Avenue and highlighting the main entrance. Each of the three parts of the facade is decorated finished composition and at the same time united by common elements into a single compositional structure. Corner accent achieved by resalit, elevated one floor, with large windows, bay window, decorative framing windows moving from resalit to the main volume contrasting smooth wall corner parts of risalit, with an abundance of plasticity of another. Before us is Lenin Avenue, passing to Tadishchev Street. The reconstruction was carried out as part of preparations for the 2018 World Cup. Before us is part of the ensemble of the Complex Institute of Physiotherapy, which goes on Lenin Street, Moscow. At the intersection of Lenin Street and Moscow, we see the fourth house of the Sverdlovsk City Council. Location and modernity echoes the story. We go into the courtyard of the fourth house of Sverdlovsk City Council from the side of Moscow Street. The project has not been fully implemented. The space of residential buildings was built-in bath, 2 shops, a hairdresser, kindergarten, nursery. After the construction of residential buildings, in the first opened a grocery store, now here is one of chain stores in Yekaterinburg. Many workers settled in apartments Verk plant. In the house were communications, stove heating. The apartments themselves were communal and varied in area. 3-room 75 meters square and 4-room 95 square meters. Year of construction 1929. In 1959 with side of Lenin Avenue was built house insert with arched passage. Straight another housing complex. In general, the complex takes square of Shienkman, Lenin, Moscow streets. Like this, the complex looks from Lenin Street. Residential building refinery. In connection with the disaggregation of the Ural region, reduction of a number of design organizations, who worked in the Big Urals, in Sverdlovsk, the Regional Executive Committee organized architectural workshops No. 1 and No. 2. Therefore, according to the Sokolov-Dukalsky project, a 5-story brick was built full-length residential building for employees of the refinery OTSM on Lenin Street. Delivered in 1937. The house had both modest 2-room apartments with an area of 41 to 44 square meters, and large 4-room apartments 85 to 87 square meters. Alley in the middle of everything Lenin Avenue, from the very beginning from Kirov Square, where the main university of our city, Ural Polytechnic, UPI. To the very end, until intersection with Moskovskaya Street. Now, moving along the main avenue, we smoothly approach our next point. The complex of buildings of the NKVL administration for Sverdlovsk region. In 1889, this site was already located in the possession of Volsky Commercial Bank. It housed a 2-story stone house, outbuilding, service and bathhouse. In 1915 in the building of the Yekaterinburg branch of the bank started to form People's Militia. In 1938 under the project architect George Alexandrovich Golubev in the appearance of the building and its interiors were changes made. In this form, the building continues to exist now. The facade architectural solution is typical of the official Soviet neoclassic, the N30s. You reasonably wonder the question is what does neoclassic have to do with it, if our film is about constructivism? However, the architect of this building was Golubev Georgy Alexandrovich. Date of birth April 20, 1883 to August 1949. Russian, Soviet designs, representative Sverdlovsk constructivism. Member of the Ural Society of Modern Designs, Union of Soviet Architects. Member of the First All-Union Congress of Architects. Main architecture Sverdlovsk from 1936 to 1942. We are moving to the main pedestrian street of Yekaterinburg, Wiener Street. It is hard to believe, but when that building on the right was a drama theater. October 2, 1930, a performance, The First Horse, based on the play by Vishnevsky Sverdlovsk Theatre opened its first season. Over the years of the theatre's existence in the building on its stage were shown the best works of domestic and foreign dramaturgy. In 1977, Sverdlovsky the Drama Theatre was awarded the academic title. In 1990, the theatre moved to a new building on October Square. From the building of the Commodity Exchange, only a part facade overlooking Wiener Street. Now it is a large shopping center passage. All the years of the creation of the Commodity Exchange 1916 to 1925, March 31, 22 years on the basis of the decision Ural Regional Economic Meeting she housed the former building passage. City Commodity Exchange has become the largest in the Urals and the turnover was from 3.5 times higher than the Perm Exchange. The fifth house of the City Council appeared on Wiener Street in 1928. The author of the project was the architect Dubrovin. The house was designed as the main building in a residential complex consisting of 4- and 5-story buildings and a kindergarten, placed around the perimeter, with a cozy courtyard, landscaped lawn and fountain. Only one building was built and fountain in front of its courtyard facade. The building of the State Bank. Stone 3-story building located in shopping center of Yekaterinburg, Sverdlovsk. The main facade is symmetrical, its design based on typical stylistics constructivism techniques. Contrast vertically and horizontally developing forms, blind and glazed surfaces. We ourselves are moving to the residential complex of the Uralobsovet building. Based on typical project. A group of Moscow architects led by Moses Ginsburg, who characterized this, makes it project as a transitional type house, designed based on the principles of economy and an industrial approach to the organization of life. Includes 5 houses. Planning Ginsburg implemented several types a series of residential units he developed. The most famous is a cell of type F by the way, in excursions organized in this house into these same cells. Buildings number 1 and 2 at the level of the 6th floor are connected between transitions. On the roof of the building 2 located a solarium, walking playground for children, local children garden located on the 5th floor. On the top floor of the first building were designed dining room, reading room and an outdoor terrace. Right across the intersection, we see the building, the House of Sverdlovsk. The building is 2-volume, 4-story corner, conceived as an office building and residential 5-storied. Sverdlovsk Regional Book Publishing House located here in the mid-1930s. Residential building of the Town of Justice. Year of construction 1932. The house was intended for living employees and their families, who served in administration, court and labor building house, now pre-trial detention center number 1. The building was built in 1932, according to the project, executed supposedly by an architect Zakharov. Is an integral part of so-called the Town of Justice and intended to be placed Sverdlovsk Regional Administration Correctional Labor Institutions and Sverdlovsk Regional Court. The Justice Town was created based on Urbana prison castle built in the second half of the 19th century. In 1935, Sverdlovsk branch of the Union of Architects of the USSR represented in Moscow his creative report in which the complex of the Town of Justice the list of the best buildings of our city. the complex of buildings of the main directorate for the execution of punishment, which is part of the town of Justice. Year built 1931. The building is still operated by to your destination.
Утомленное солнце нежно с морем прощалось. В этот час ты признала, что нет любви. Мне немного взгрустнуло, без тоски, без печали. В этот час прозвучали слова твои.
Behind me, again we return to the stadium. Former Central Stadium and in the current reincarnation, Yekaterinburg Arena specially reconstructed 2018 FIFA World Cup. In addition, the stadium itself is also architectural monument, neoclassicism, which after adjustment the stadium were saved historical facades, and here you can see behind me. We are moving on. P.S. I almost forgot. If you watched up to this point, write that you saw the stadium in the comments below. Subscribe. Let me remind you again, subscribe to the channel, see.
Еще раз напомню, подписывайтесь на канал, смотрите.
The building of the Medical Institute included in the complex of buildings of the town of doctors in the area of Repin streets, Malashova, Tadishchev. The building was built in 3 stages. The central building was created in 1928 to 1931. Southern and western buildings were built in 1935-1936, and the eastern one is attached to the existing ones 1940, designed by architect Korotkov. Years of creation of the Gynecological Department 1928 to 1931, 1937. From the project to create the ensemble of the city hospital, 3 buildings were built, gynecological, therapeutic and surgical, and the latter is demolished in mid-2000s. Now in the building is a research institute for maternal health and infancy. That is probably all today.
Вот, пожалуй, и все на сегодня.
I showed you objects of constructivism located in the center Yekaterinburg, on Lenin Street, Malashov, Repin, and Wiener. Next time we will probably go to Uralmash. Uralmash is also very rich, almost all of it was built up at that time, 30s. As always, I will be glad comments, any. I also remind you who inspected who saw the stadium, please write comments that I saw the stadium. Subscribe to the video. Link also to Google Map with a full track, with all objects will be in the description.
Подписывайтесь на видео. Ссылка также на Google Map с полным треком, со всеми объектами будет в описании. Пока-пока.
Bye-bye.